Okay, it's Christina Merkley here, and I'm doing another pandemic-related processing session. So I have Joan. Hello, Joan. Thank you for being willing to do this and to hold space for whatever's up for you. We've just had a super brief chat, so I know this might have somewhat to do with creativity. But really, wherever you want to go with, it's a very unusual experience that we're all having here in the world, and how's it impacting you, and how might what I do be of help?
Well, thank you.
So where do you want to enter into it?
Well, it's, you know, this whole situation is so unprecedented that it feels like it's hard to know how to be with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that I've been thinking about a little bit in the last few days.
Well, I think I know what to do process-wise. I got a process where we just be. So maybe that's what we do, take the non-dual approach, which is just welcoming, right? So basically we follow your somatic, right? Follow what's up in your body and your senses, and basically meet it. And usually what happens, it doesn't have to, but usually as you meet it, something unfolds, something occurs, and then the next thing arises, and then you meet that. So that's it. That's the gist. So I'm going to just turn on my tablet and share my tablet here, because I'll just do a little record of what you encounter. Okay, so start with taking a few breaths. And I would just say on the in-breath, it doesn't have to be this, but relaxation, peace, and calm. And on the out-breath, just anything that wants to let go at this point in time and release before we step into this segment. So what do you notice as we start to swirl around this, and you're, like all of us, encountering, but I'm working with you right now. It's just such a delight to work with people and see how this impacts each of us individually. So how about your system as you kind of sit today? Where are we, the 16th, something like that? I'm not good with dates to begin with. Ooh, look at that, 11/11. April 17th. What comes up for you as we kind of sit here right now? Anything that you notice? It might be a thought, it might be a sensation in the body.
Well, I feel pretty calm right now. I just finished a workout, so physically spent.
Nice.
And that, yeah, that helps me to process some of the frenetic parts of this experience.
Well, then you may not need any processing help at all. Let's just meet that calm. Calm, you are welcome here. Boy, that's the best thing we can all do, is just meet that calm. Just settle into, bring your focuses, notice how you feel that calm in your body. Where is it?
I think probably the breath.
Okay, it's in the breath, so just focusing in on that breath.
Yeah. In the chest, kind of in the expansiveness, without so much restriction. Having just done some cardio, that opens that up a bit too.
So feeling into and just noticing, appreciating that expanded chest. What else do you notice? Expanded chest, you are welcome here.
Long breaths.
take that long breath. Long breath. You are welcome here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, what do you notice?
Well, I just started to think a little bit about expansion and constriction. And it seems like this time is so much is part of that polarity of the expansiveness of where we are, where I am right now, and then all of a sudden there's the constriction of not being able to go and do the usual kinds of things that I do, you know, with the same freedom.
There's, whenever a polarity presents itself, it reminds me of a process called a polarity square. So that may be a place we go to here, but I'm just curious as you just focus in on that noticing of the polarity of expansion and constriction, as you just kind of welcome that, because that's what arose here, that's what popped up. Focus in on there and then see what arises.
There seems like it's, you know, staying home and the expansion of not having to rush to do lots of different things. There's time, it's kind of more yawning than usual in a certain way, and expanding into different projects to try and get organized and put things away. And you know, there's that possibility of addressing a lot of those things that are back of mind and the usual day-to-day where you have other things that you need to do. So there, I think, is the expansion of opportunity.
Okay, I'm going to go into a polarity square here. One sec. So what you're starting to get into is that desire for expansion and the positive aspects of that. So let me just write this up quick. So we've got desire for expansion, and then we'll have fear of expansion. And then the flip of it, we have a desire for constriction. And the flip of that is the fear of constriction. So in tracking it, what I heard right off the bat was the desire for expansion was this business about projects and being able to do more projects or get into things. Help me with the wording for that. How would you sum that up?
Well, I think more time and longer blocks of time to pay attention to things that need to be organized or put away or done and created.
Organized, created, put away, and you also said done.
Yeah, and I think clearing is another one. Clearing space.
Okay. We can keep going on this aspect of the polarity. So what else is, why might one desire expansion? What are you finding around expansion, a desire for expansion?
well, it's also a good space for learning.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so many opportunities to drop into courses, revisit courses around, you know, um, professional work and personal work.
Okay, good. You have any in particular that you're doing? I know of a couple, but there might be some others. You're doing a few with me, so I know
Yeah,
you're showing up for the sketching with Rhoda, and yeah,
yeah,
I'll put that
yeah.
in.
So, and in getting into the digital work,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm working through a course on the art of developmental coaching is another piece that I'm working through.
Mm-hmm.
And team coaching is starting pretty soon, um, as well as embodied transformation, a course on embodied transformation.
Mm.
And those are just a few of them. I have dangling participles with other courses I want to go back and dive back into, like the fast and loose sketching. Um, I want to go back and capture some of that. So I have a plethora, if you will, of ideas, opportunities, and commitments right now.
Well, and does that shift a little into fear of expansion, into some overwhelm, or is it all on the desire
Yeah,
side?
no, there's probably like, how do you make discerning decisions right now when, there's a lot of space? What size of canvas do you select, kind of metaphor? How do you create limits? How do you know when maybe you've been doing too much?
Okay.
And I guess along the desire for expansion too, there's um, continuing to commit to physical fitness and strength building is something that I have made a priority since I had an injury and an illness. So I continue to work alongside my trainer. So I just did a couple of workouts beforehand. That's what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a desire to get back into my guitar playing, which is kind of conditional to the organizing of certain rooms so that we can have the guitars and amplifiers easily accessible, right? And wanting to learn how to use the pen displays. Um, I'm having some challenges with the hookups and stuff, and learning the new sketchbook program and so forth. So I feel like I have a pretty broad palette in the desire spot, which then is, how much is enough in the other spot. And there's that idea of, is it a sprint or a marathon? How long is this going to happen? How much do I need to
Mm-hmm.
garner my energies so that I feel like I'm, doing justice or integrity to the learning that I'm doing, and not just jamming it in like I can do sometimes when I'm busy.
Okay, so just continuing to breathe into it. What's coming up as you consider expansion and constriction? Anything else with the fear of expansion?
And I think that's probably it about net for now. And I guess the desire for constriction is that, often our time is bounded. And So how do we
Can I
understand?
get you to I it instead of we it? So
Mm-hmm.
I, often my time is bounded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have various commitments and obligations, and so I know that, maybe on a certain day I only have X number of hours to do Y. And sometimes that helps me to focus better and to create boundaries around time.
Okay, so the vote for constriction is it actually having limits on time can be helpful.
Yes.
A boundary and just like a distinct time to have to get it done in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess there's what would you call accountability?
Hmm. Whereas if you have that expansion, it just goes on and on and on, right? But then over in that fear of expansion, you're like, wait a second, how long is this a sprint? Is this a marathon? What do I have to work in this?
Mm-hmm.
And then that desire for having some sort of boundaries, something that could constrict you to kind of give you a perimeter on it so that
Mm-hmm.
you can have some accountability instead of it just being open, open, open.
Yep.
Okay. What
And I
else?
guess
Mm-hmm.
the fear of constriction is how are limits being placed on us right now, like as being less able to go out and do things in public, like sit in a coffee shop with a friend, or find the things that you want in the grocery store, because the constriction is things that we usually see there are not there anymore. Shelves are empty. And so we've got constrictions about what do you buy and how do you stay resourced in your food and nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially because we have health issues in the family here that we need to pay attention to.
Definitely some fears on the constriction side.
Mm-hmm. And what will we be able to do in the future? What, how can I go out and enjoy a trip into, you know, town and not feel like I have to worry about bringing home the virus for, my husband who has health issues, or myself? That I guess it's maybe fear of expansion, but how do we be in the world with others? How do I be in the world with others? And as we begin to change and open things up a bit, after whenever the self-isolation is relaxed a little bit. So that's a bit of a future piece.
But you can just feel as you feel into the thought of expansion, what pops up is, this funny business that we've all had now about being around people. So it'll, feel weird if it does expand. How safe is it to
Mm-hmm.
reinstigate some of the things that we typically would do in our society? And then that kind of fear comes up, how to be in that world with others.
Yeah, and not feel uncomfortable that other people are a potential source of the virus, rather than being human together and being comfortable and more like it was before, if that's ever something that can happen. I don't know. So there's this feeling of a loss, I guess, as
Mm-hmm.
well. what has happened, what has changed. It seems irreversible in certain ways, and that quote of new normal is what we will all live with. What is that?
Yeah, so that fear of constriction is that loss of normal.
Mm-hmm. And a loss of the freedoms that we had
Mm-hmm.
prior.
Yep. What else do you notice as you poke into expansion and constriction?
I guess, how does it impact relationships? Both um, in person and virtual, professional and personal, because there's something now, it's almost like an elephant in a room in a way. And for example, what's also on my mind is I just read an email by someone I was in a class with, and we had a bit of a experience with one of the models. And the person was really almost inaccessible and very, it seemed they wanted something, but they didn't really want to be open to it. And so something I've been exploring is how how am I at this, and how am I different, and how are other people different, and how we show up sometimes, it just has this different level of irritation sometimes. Like we're all sidetracking. If we have a hard drive, there's something running in the background that's making us a little bit less able to access our calm, our balance, and our resourcefulness with each other.
Typically with polarities, there's at least one, sometimes it's two. There's some that are more you're aware of, right? Some that are more up, more conscious, and some are more unconscious. So
Mm-hmm.
I just found myself thinking about that, wondering which one out of the four, uh, which ones are more conscious, which ones are you more aware of as we poke around this, and which ones are like, oh, I hadn't actually known that I actually have some stuff over there.
Well, probably the desire for constriction is a bit of a surprise in a way,
Mm-hmm.
because uh, we we tend to want flexibility. I like having lots of choices. I don't respond well to rigidity um, when it's taken to the nth degree, and sometimes I will challenge boundaries as just a typical way of being. So, this desire for constriction is what holds us in place, I guess. And
Mm.
that constriction, there is something about that that is maybe more helpful than I've noticed before.
Mm-hmm. So what can you see for yourself in this situation? Where is the desire for constriction?
Well, I guess it's just learning from the wisdom of the boundaries and accountabilities, and how that helps me to feel more probably calm, to feel more safe. So there's a piece of that I like right now, being cozy, being at home, not having to make decisions with my time as much. Having fewer choices is a forced choice. And maybe the desire for constriction helps me to keep promises to myself better, because that accountability, I'm often, I can say, okay, well, it doesn't matter. I'll just not take care of, like, I will acquiesce and do this for someone else, or not take care of that for myself. And that's where, you know, creative work is sometimes where I don't dwell in that place of what I need. I do look out for what others are asking of me, what my obligations are.
Mm.
So that's a good side of that constriction, I guess. But how is that serving me and how is it limiting me?
Well, the serving is the desire, right? So you're seeing in here, wow, somebody who actually usually chafes at boundaries. You're finding the niceness is not the right word, but the positivity or something, the usefulness of boundaries, right? And makes you feel calm, cozy, safe. And then there's this thing with the accountability about, wow, what do you know? It actually helps me keep promises to myself a little better.
Mm-hmm.
And then the flip of it, what you just said was like, I'm not sure how great that is. So what's on that other side then, that fear of constriction? Around the accountability bit to
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Well, it's sometimes there's not as much wiggle room.
Mm. Oh, so
Um,
you can't get out of it. Is that
yeah,
what you mean? Yeah.
yeah, and why is that? You know, so for me, one of the things that comes up is I will say to myself, I will go and do some painting or sketching, but first I need to clean the basement so we can work out down there. And that ends up not happening quickly. So I don't get to that spot of doing the sketching or the painting, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And that's a pattern that's been sticking around for a while. And I don't exactly know where that fits.
I'm going to put that fear of constriction is see my patterns.
Mm,
You know, this is uncomfortable. Boy, I can't distract. I can't blame it on others. I can kind of see my own patterns and it's
hmm
uncomfortable.
hmm and I guess, you know, that's an interesting pattern for me that's been a kind of trying to land over the last few weeks. And it's been around for a while, but I really see it now. And I think, I think that's probably something that came up in my family because I was oldest and I had to take care of kids. I had to do this, babysit, not go out. I had to do dishes before, you know, and it
Mm.
was, I mean, all kids have chores, not saying they don't, but I think for me it was probably amplified a bit because I was the one that had to set the example. So sometimes work in its quote unquote is what is important. And the other stuff is like the creative work is maybe less honorable or something in my mind. I don't know. It's
That's
like
important.
frivolous or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird. And I am a very creative person and I express my creativity through a lot of my work and my professional stuff and my thoughts and, you know, writing. But, you know, there's still something there that makes it feel like it's not, it's always got to be left to the last piece. And that is something I have that's bugging me. How do I bring it forward, make time
Yep.
for it, honor it?
Yep. And just to make it explicit, you've just discovered an orphan that you can rescue.
Mm-hmm.
So, and how beautiful, right? Because our connection is through creativity, that you've just bing, ding, dinged on to go back. We won't do it this session, but that'll be homework for you if you care to take it, is go back to the, I think you're the oldest, are you? Oldest
Mm-hmm.
child? Go back to when, in fact, we can identify it right now and you can take it into that process. What age were you when that first set in? Is there an incident or a moment or something that comes up when you think of that, where that choice was presented with kind of responsibility, do the important things, probably helpfulness oriented, right? Around the house or
Mm.
something, looking after siblings versus Doing fun
Yeah,
stuff.
well, it's probably around the age of 9 or 10, and it was because of health issues. My father became quite ill, and my mom needed help, and she leaned on me quite a bit from then on.
Wow. And you now in your adult situation have had, especially this last year, right? A lot of people with health stuff going on. So it'd be very understandable that the orphan would be coming up and the roots of it. Wow.
Hmm.
Aw,
Yeah,
I can just
and
feel it.
it yeah, and it's there off and on, over the last part of my life. But I notice, for example, right now I usually write blogs and so forth, and I have had zero inspiration to do that.
Mhm.
You know, and being creative like that feels like work, which is very strange. So yeah, and it's partly why I joined up for some of those weekly sketching classes, so I would commit some time, spend some time, and not find, oh, I can do something else instead, which is really like what happens for me a lot.
That devaluing of the creativity, something else is more important.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, Christina, because my husband has always been a very tool oriented, pragmatic guy. And I've encouraged him to set up his metal shop. And now he's creating dragons with cast off bike parts.
Wow.
And so I encourage him to go do that. Yet at the same time, I'm not doing it
For
myself. And that's
yourself.
also what's yeah, it's making it really concrete for me. And it's like, wow, Michelle, like, this is really interesting. And he's out doing it. And now he's got sculptures, and our neighbors think they're very cool. And I'm like, but I'm the creative one in this relation.
Wait a second.
What
This
the
is
hell is
fair.
going on? Yeah, this is very weird.
So let's do a little bit of the orphan. I think we're just going to trust the process that it led us here, and that might be a nice place to conclude. And we may get it just in the work we do in this next little bit, and or there may be some more for you to do. But what's the best thing about being your current age?
Um, I think it's about having the experiences and the wisdom, and hopefully some maturity or lack thereof, and
Yeah.
choices. You
Okay,
know,
good.
I have a lot. I have a lot of choices and freedom to do that now with my business and my time, rather than when I was full time in my professional career. That was very consuming.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
good. So we're just anchoring this as experience, wisdom, and choice. This is the now consciousness, and the best thing about being your current age. Now I wanted to lock that in because we're going in. We're going to go to that 9 to 10-year-old. Where is she? Is she in the family home? Is she in the kitchen? Where is she?
Usually in the family home, probably often in the kitchen,
Yeah, I
um,
could feel that about her. Yeah.
watching the others,
Mhm.
babysitting. Um, like, just a quick aside, a friend of mine that I've been off and on in touch with over the years sent me an email not long ago, and she said, I can remember how much you had to look after the kids, and anytime we wanted to go do something with you, you had to stay home and babysit.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, that she would say that, and that she would remember that. No wonder it's, in my consciousness still. And that idea of being the responsible one, and you know setting the example. My mom always used to say that to me.
Well, now we're right there, right? So that's exactly where we're going to. I'm just bringing up another sheet here. I'm not going to bother to grab the actual template for it. So best thing about being your current self was wisdom, experience, and choice.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to, but it helps sometimes to evoke it. If how old are you?
59.
Okay, that's 59. Now
Mm-hmm.
we're going to 910. And we know she's there. She's in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And she always had to do the babysitting. She didn't get to be able to do like what your friend was being able to do at 9 and 10, right? The friend was able to remind you about, wow, yeah, you weren't doing 9, 10 stuff. You were busy because you had a household where you had a sick family member and you had to step in and become a lot more adult before your time,
Mm-hmm.
a lot more responsible. And now in later life, you're seeing the ramifications. It's really playing out in your creativity and your
Mm-hmm.
ability to do things besides work stuff, right? Or task oriented stuff.
Yep.
And you might support other people to do it, but not supporting you. That's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's go to, and we'll do this, just we'll do it quick and
Mm-hmm.
trust the ability of our consciousness to do this. But you're going to take us, I'm going to follow along behind you, and we're going to go to that kitchen, and we're going to freeze everybody except your younger self. And the first thing you need to do is tell her who the heck you are, because it's weird when some random woman shows up in a kitchen. So what do you
Mm-hmm.
say to her? Sweetie,
As 910 or talking to her
you're
from
talking to
myself?
your now 59-year-old self has shown up in
Oh,
the old
okay.
kitchen. And
Gotcha.
this, yep.
Well, it's important to have more fun and not worry so much about having to take care of everybody else.
Yeah. So I'm your future self. I'm here. Hi, I'm Christina. I'm what's called a coach. Your future self is a coach too. But we care about you. I mean, in fact, my heart is breaking that you're there in that kitchen slaving away on various things as opposed to, and it's very admirable that you're doing it,
Mm-hmm.
how kind and how caring and how responsible to be doing these things. And it has ramifications. Believe it or not, your adult self at 59 is kind of suffering from some of the things that were connected with what's going on for you. So, sweetie, we're here to rescue you. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to keep washing the dishes or looking after the kids or worrying about food or whatever it is that you're doing. We're actually here to rescue you so that you can come be a 9, 10-year-old and actually be in an environment. And this is Michelle or Joan, where we're going to figure out where to take her, right? Does she come into your now consciousness? That might be the place. Or does she go to a future self? I mean, right now we're in the middle of a pandemic, so I'm finding a lot of orphans aren't coming into the now, but some are. So you'll find out, do you take her into your place and take over the role of looking after her, or is there a better place for her? It might be your future self if you've tapped into the future self. I know you have because you're in the visual coach certification, so you've done that to some extent. That's usually a place, and you can tap into the future self to go, future self, I got a 9, 10-year-old orphan, get
Mm-hmm.
ready. I need to rescue
Mm-hmm.
her, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's your, I'm talking to your now self,
Mm-hmm.
and bear with us, orphan. This all makes sense in a second. Um, where do you want to bring her? Do you want to bring her to 2020, or do you want to bring her to somewhere in the future with your future self?
No, I think it's got to be now in
Okay,
2020.
perfect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to have some fun. So get that one down. Um, See how she responds to this. Sometimes orphans are very intuitive and I don't have to explain it all. They know and they're ready. Is she ready to be taken away from the sink in the kitchen and to be brought in 2020 where she gets, and we'll explain it to her, but basically she gets to be a kid, right? You're responsible. You can look after things and you're not sick. So she gets a redo in a way.
Mm-hmm.
How does she have any yeah buts? Is there any concern she has as we're talking about this rescue business?
Well, the concern is, what about getting stuff done that needs to get done? So
Yeah.
the tasks are, heavy on the shoulders sometimes, the burden of that.
Yeah, she's like,
And
wait. I'm here and I'm doing tasks. What about these tasks?
yeah,
So, what do you say to her? What does your 59-year-old self say to this one who so beautifully wants to keep doing the tasks way back when?
well, to look for a time to play and a time to have fun and, not worry that things aren't getting done um, as quickly as you think they should. And
Let me
also,
let me interrupt.
yeah,
No. So, sweetie, we're going to take you out of here. And you don't have to do any more tasks. You're 9 years old. So, what we're offering to you is to bring you to 2020. Joan, your future self, has this beautiful place. She's in British Columbia, out in nature, incredible place. It's springtime and things are starting to bud. Nature is all around. She has all these crazy art supplies. Her husband's got this great workshop full of tools and he's creating dragons. You want to come?
oh yeah,
Yeah. And don't you worry about tasks. Your tasks are done. You no longer have to stay. In a way, everybody has moved on. You've been stuck in this fragment of time at the sink in the kitchen. What a shame. Sweetie, you don't have to stay there anymore. You can come be with Joan in 2020 and come have some fun. The tasks are done. Joan's a very responsible woman. She will take care of the adult tasks. She's capable, she's strong, she's together, she's resourced, she has capable people around her. These adults have got it going on. Because they do, you get to just be a kid poking around doing what a 9, 10-year-old does. How are those beans? Does that
right.
sound good? If that sounds good, we can extend. Joan will extend her hand and she'll bring you forward in time. Yeah. So go ahead, Joan, extend your hand to her, maybe give her a little hug, bring her close, and you bring her forward to BC. Yeah, bring her forward. While you guys are moving forward in time, I'm collapsing this kitchen down, never to return to again. Goodbye, done. Everybody grew up, everybody's okay, not needed anymore. Boom, 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 boom. Done. Poof. Never to return to. Yes, collapsed. Whoa, now you're there. Now you're there. Now show her. Here you go, kiddo. Free range kid. Of course, you're going to keep boundaries on her. She's 9, 10 years old. You're going to watch her appropriately. But kid, you get to go have fun. Hey, there's some kids in the neighborhood. Let me introduce you. Hey, here's the art supplies. Hey, here's the stuff in the workshop. Go to town, kid. What does she need? Set up a room for her. Set up, what kind of education? Does she go to a regular school? What do you want to set up? There's a lot of homeschooling going on right now in 2020. Set up a homeschooling situation for her. Yeah, now we're
Well, there's a studio that I have been setting up, and it has some of her favorite things in it, actually, like Winnie the Pooh pictures and a Winnie the Pooh clock and stuff like that. It's very whimsical, and so that's a place to play.
okay, beautiful. So what do you know, kid? I knew you were coming. I set up the studio. It's got your favorites in there. It's got Winnie the Pooh. Yay. Set up a bed for her in there. Set up, what do you want, kid? What does she say she wants?
Time to play.
Yay, good. You've got time to play. What do you want to
No
play?
guilt.
What do you want to play with? It might take her a little bit to figure it out because she doesn't really know how to play. Or does she have some
Mm,
ideas?
hmm
Yeah.
I think so.
What are her ideas? What does she want to do?
Uh, play with the pencils and the markers and the paints and
Mhm.
um, digital art stuff. And
Excellent. Okay, just show her all those great tools and doodads. You've got analog ones, you've got digital ones. She's got all the stuff she can play with, the paint palettes, whatever it might be. And ooh, look at how technology's come. There's this cool thing called a drawing tablet, and it's a thing that mimics all the analog. So kid, you can play analog, you can play digital. Hey, what do you know? I'm in the midst of figuring out how to do this shift into digital stuff. So you can play with me and help set up my brush set, figure out what brushes we want. You can help me with the color. You can help with messing around and just mucking around and figuring out how this stuff works. We can actually play with some of these people in this class. So you've got analog, you've got digital you can play with. What else does she want?
Well, this is a funny thing, but when I was about that age, I said I wanted to be a cartoonist.
Doesn't
And
surprise me at all.
yeah, and my mom said you can't make money doing that.
Oh, mom.
And at that time, you couldn't really, probably, unless you were
Oh,
trying
lots
to
of
show
people did.
somebody doing peanuts or
Look at
something. But
Rhoda.
anyway,
Rhoda was working away at that time.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, so now, yeah, I've got some drawing stuff to do, create critters and characters and more flippant and flair.
Okay, great. So now you get to be that cartoonist. She gets to fart around and play. She's got Rhoda draws to help and assist. Yeah. Okay. How is she? I can feel her kind of enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any yeah buts? Anything that you need to make clear to her?
Um, no, I don't. I think just the same things will come up. When to play, how long to play, can I play, but just allowing for that, like getting it, the energy forward instead of blocking it is the key piece here,
So
I think.
what do you say? So I would suggest this is kind of boundary stuff. So she's asking, what's the
Mm-hmm.
boundary? Kid, you get to play all day. Because these are different states of consciousness. She can be playing a lot around, being a kid, right? She also, it's not appropriate for her to get into your business. It's not appropriate for her to get into your adult relationships, into money. That's adult stuff. So you're like, I got all that, kiddo. That's not your business. So you actually just get to play to your heart's delight. If you don't want to play, you can sleep, you can crash out, you can do whatever you want. Just be a kid. You don't have to do anything. I got it covered, right? I'm channeling you.
Mm-hmm.
You've got it covered, right? It's the boundary between that.
Yep.
So, and this is going to be for her. It's like, whoa, what a concept. Wow. Cause she's never experienced that. So it's like, kiddo, have fun experiencing it.
Play,
Play. Yeah.
muck about.
Yes. Good. Good. Now, now any yeah buts? She ready to play, muck about?
Mm-hmm.
Set her loose. Set her loose. Come back for meals, kid. We'll, Joan's going to set you up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. She's going to tuck you in. She's going to make sure you don't wander too far because she's keeping an eye, proper adult surveillance on you so you're safe. But other than that, you get to roam around. Go have fun. Go have fun with your friends. Go poke into stuff. Come to Joan when you have things that you want to learn. She'll bring in experts. She'll bring in homeschooling. She'll find kids for you. She'll arrange it. So your whole job is to be a kid and just roam and muck around and have fun. That's your job.
Play, play, play.
Yeah. Good. So let her go run off. Now what we just did was work with your subconscious, with the right brain. Trust the process. The proof is in the pudding. And we put in boundaries there. So, she's not going to get in the driver's seat of your business or your work or anything like that. You're in charge of that, right? She just gets to go be a kid. So there's a way you can do both. There's a way a part of your consciousness can go be having fun and be doing that age appropriate stuff for a kid, while the other side of you, the adult, right, looks after the adult kind of stuff. So, and the nice thing with that is you have a profession that there are some places where it's appropriate for her to come in and do her thing. It's very handy to have a kid who's very artistic and playful while you're learning how to work digitally, right? While you're taking cartooning, while you're taking fast and loose sketching. So that's where it's appropriate for the two to merge, right? Where it's like, come on in. Hey, I'm in the studio. Come help me. Yeah. But this little one doesn't have to worry about all the adult stuff, right? Like she used to do.
Yeah.
Because you got it covered. So she gets a visceral experience of being with an adult who's not sick, right? Of being with you're basically you've taken over the mothering role. Yeah. Okay. I have somebody coming right up behind you, so I can see she's wanting to come in here. So give me a closing quote. We got 2 and 1. We kind of did a little of unity work and got into the polarity, and that led us nicely into an orphan rescue. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with your creativity as this runs along. Yeah. A closing quote is just an I am or I have statement. How are you at this point in time? Sorry, it's a rushed ending.
Oh, not to worry. Ready to play. I'm ready to play.
Ooh, perfect. That's perfect. That's a perfect ending. I got goosebumps. Okay, well, my work here is done.
Yes. Well, thank you, Christina.
My pleasure. I look forward to hearing what unfolds from here. Have fun.
All
Go
right.
look around.
All right. Talk
Bye.
to you soon.
Okay.